and welcome back everyone to another lesson of 10 Point Actual Speaking. My name is Jennifer Clyde. Welcome back everyone. Okay, today's lesson is going to be about your college goals, what your college life was like. Now, we did talk about majors, right? We talked about how to talk about the majors or what you studied in college way a long time ago. But today let's focus on how you came to choose your major for college or in college, and if someone inspired or influenced you to choose your major. So of course, college life is not just about studying. It's about a lot more than that. To give you maybe some information about myself, I decided on my major when I was in high school. Actually, I knew which track I was going to go to. I was interested in, of course, art, drawing, and designing. But actually, I could say that my sister, she really influenced me. She inspired me when I was about maybe 6 or 7 years old. She was a wonderful painter. She was full of creations. She was very, that's right, creative. She had a creative mind. So she is the one that inspired me to, of course, follow my studies or pursue my studies in, of course, the art department. So we'll talk about that today, everyone. Are you ready? Let's get started then. Here we are ready to begin our warm-up segment. Take a look at our 5 W's and how to get us started with our brainstorming cues. Are you ready? Here we go. The first W, as always, is who. Now, who influenced you to choose your major in school? We're thinking about the person, right? So who influenced you to choose your major in school, meaning in college or university, right? Okay, let's move on to our next who question. Who inspired you or influenced you to decide on your career choices? And the first question was based on our major, but the next one is, okay, focusing on our career choices. Because oftentimes when you're in college or when you're in university, that's when you really think hard about your career, what you are going to do after you graduate. So think about who these people are, if anyone influenced you or inspired you, okay? Let's move on to our what question. What did you study in university? Very simple, very quick and easy. So think about what you studied in college. What did you want to major in before you entered college? Oftentimes you may have a specific major or an interest from elementary school. You may change your mind in middle school and again change your mind in high school and really think hard about what you will major in college. So think about what you wanted to study, what you wanted to major in college before you actually entered college, okay? Let's move on to our next what question. What were your goals in university? Okay, it's very similar to, of course, talking about your career goals or what your career will be, right? So think about what your goals in university were. Was it to study really hard in college or were your goals geared towards the future, perhaps after you graduated? Let's move on to what are your goals now? So think about your goals in university and perhaps if you have more goals or newer goals now, think about those goals really quickly as well. Let's move on to what were the types of careers you dreamed of in college? Okay, so once again, quickly think about the kinds of work or careers you dreamed of when you were in college, when you were studying in college, okay? Let's quickly move on to our next W category, which is where. Where did you go to college? That's also a very simple question. As we're going through our 5 W's and how. Our next W is why. Why did you choose your major or even your work field, okay? Your career. So think about what you do right now and perhaps ask yourself, why did I choose to do this? Why did I choose this occupation, this work field? Or when you were in school, why did you choose that certain major, what you studied? Moving on to our final category, H, how, of course. How did you decide on your major or career? That's a quick one. And another one is, how are your goals from university different from your current goals? Now, I did ask you what your goals were in college and what your goals are now. So these questions may be similar, but of course, we are going through the 5 W's and H, so keep on asking yourselves as many questions as possible. Here is our final how. How do you feel about the choices you've made in life from college until present, okay? So finally, focus on the choices you have made in your life from when you were in college up until this moment, until now, the present, everyone. Are you happy with your choices? Are you happy with your career? Are you happy and satisfied that you studied a certain major, or do you have regrets? Think about those questions as well. Okay, we're done brainstorming, everyone. Now let's move on to our actual talk between Rachel and Peter.
You know, Peter, in Korea, a lot of the students choose their major first before they go into college, but I know that in the States, we choose our major once we're in college, and we do it on the way, we make different decisions, we change it. Was that the same for you, or did you know from the start what you wanted to study?
Well, I was kind of inspired when I was young by, Carl Sagan and the TV show Nova.
Right,
and
okay.
so I always wanted to be a bit of a mad scientist, or in this case, I wanted to study astrophysics, the Big Bang, the origin of the universe, and things like that. But as I started into it, I started changing, and I'm pretty much too interested in too many different things.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a bit ADD, so I can't focus on only one thing.
Okay.
So I started taking other classes, and in the end, I finished my degree in English literature, early European history, and dance.
Oh, wow. It's very versatile. You seem like, like you're a jack of all trades.
Yeah, a bit of a Renaissance man, if you will.
Yeah. Did you have a particular professor that influenced you to make this decision in the end?
Well, actually, one of my high school teachers kind of influenced me so much so that I became a writer.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of filtered its way into a major part of my life from a minor part.
Right, okay.
In college, you're kind of growing and learning who you are.
Exactly.
What about you?
For me, I studied government and legal studies, which is a long fancy term for like international relations. Yeah, but I absolutely fell in love with the subject after my first class of government and legal studies. It was intro to government, basically. And the professor really just fostered my creativity, my critical thinking, and I fell in love with the subject right then and there. And I knew that that was what I wanted to study. Yeah.
So are you going to become a government official someday?
Hopefully. I'm hopefully thinking about some kind of development work, so maybe a big humanitarian organization even. I'm really excited about the future. I definitely am. But
hopefully that'll work out soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten the idea that these two people were very studious, very intelligent students back in school. Now, what did Peter say? He was interested in English literature, even history, and, of course, dance. And Rachel said that she was interested in relations between nations. So they studied some majors. So here we go. Let's talk about what they went through or talked about in today's actual talk, line by line. First of all, Rachel said in Korea, a lot of the students choose their major when? First, before they get into college, before they enter college. Is that the case? So do you basically have an idea of what you want to major in before you get into college? Well, she says that, and then she says, but in the States, it's different, right? In the States, we choose our major once we're in college, okay? okay? So she's talking about the differences between, of course, colleges in Korea and the US, in the States. Now she asks, was it the same for you, or did you know from the start what you wanted to study? So she's basically asking him a simple question. She's saying, did you know from high school what you wanted to study? Did you decide on your major before you entered college, or did you decide your major when you entered college afterwards, right? Let's see what Peter says. He says, well, when I was young, he's talking about when he was a lot younger, perhaps in high school, I was kind of inspired by Carl Sagan. He is an American astronomer, okay, and the TV show Nova. So he's talking about what he was inspired by, what inspired him, what influenced him, right? So I always wanted to be a bit of a mad scientist. A mad scientist. Well, mad itself means crazy or angry, right? In this case, it's not angry, it's closer to crazy. If you call somebody a mad scientist, you are saying that that person is a great scientist. All he or she thinks about is science, nothing else but science, okay? So if you're really focused on something, especially science, you would call that person a mad scientist, like Einstein, for example, okay? So he wanted to be a bit of a mad scientist or study astrophysics. It's basically, he explains the Big Bang, the explosion, right? The origin of the universe and things like that. Now, astrophysics is kind of a branch, the study of astrology, the constellation and the universe. So he says, but as I got into it, get into something, get absorbed in something. So he's saying, but as I learned more about it, as I studied more about these things, I started changing. Maybe he started changing his mind, okay? Let's move on. I'm too interested in too many different things and a bit ADD. Now, what is this? Okay, ADD is not AD, it's basically short for attention deficit disorder. It is a disorder, people say a mental disorder, but it's nothing too serious. If you say that you have ADD or you are ADD, it does not mean that you are stupid. It's just that you have a difficult time focusing or concentrating on something, okay? You get distracted very easily. This happens a lot. It affects a lot of children, perhaps in their teens, or even when they are younger. You've seen kids when they can't concentrate on something, they're easily distracted. They may have this disorder, but a lot of geniuses have this as well. If you're really smart with a high IQ, you may even have ADD, okay? Anyhow, he says, I'm too interested in too many different things, and he says, and a bit ADD, so I can't focus on only one thing. So he's explaining that he has, or he is a bit ADD because of this. He can't focus on only one thing. Now, so I started taking other classes, right? He started changing his mind, so he took other classes, and in the end, okay, as a result, I finished my degree in English literature, early European history, and dance. So he studied a lot, okay? So first of all, he said that he was interested in, that's right, the universe, the constellation, astrology, astrophysics. He maybe wanted to be a mad scientist, but he changed his mind, and he studied these things, okay? Let's move on. Now, Rachel says, wow, it's very versatile. Versatile means having a lot of abilities or being very skilled at something, okay? So she's saying, wow, you know a lot about different things. And she says, you seem like you're a jack of all trades. A jack of all trades is a person that has a lot of skills and has a lot of knowledge and can do a lot of different work at the same time. So basically, you're a very skilled person, a skilled worker that can do multiple things, okay? Jack of all trades. Jack of all trades. He's a jack of all trades. You're a jack of all trades, okay? Meaning you can do many, many, many different things. Very smart, intelligent, and knowledgeable. Got lots of skills. And he says, yeah, a bit of a Renaissance man. Now, these expressions are very, very similar. A Renaissance man is somebody, a person who has a lot of knowledge as well, okay? Somebody that has a lot of abilities and skills and knowledge. Someone that knows a lot about many, many things. And then Rachel says, did you have a particular professor that influenced you to make this decision in the end, right? In the end, he said that he studied something else. So she's asking, did any professor influence you, okay? Who helped you or who influenced you to change your mind? And he says, well, one of my high school teachers kind of influenced me. Not 100%, but kind of, maybe a little bit. I became a writer, and that kind of filtered its way into a major part. Now let's take a look at here. Filter, okay? Let's think about coffee. When we make coffee, okay, with a coffee maker, we often have a filter in the coffee machine, right? And what happens? You have the ground coffee, and then water goes through it. It filters through the filter, right? So filter into something means to go through. Happen gradually. Not all of a sudden, but happen very naturally and gradually. It means to go through. So he's saying, I became a writer, and that kind of filtered its way into a major part of my life from minor part, okay? From a minor part. A major means a big part, and a minor part means a small part. He says, you know, in college, you're growing and learning who you are. What about you? So that's right. In college, we learn, of course. We study. But at the same time, we're growing, right? We're growing. And we also are learning about many things, but especially about ourselves. Now, the question is, what about you? He asks Rachel. Rachel says, for me, she's talking about her major. I studied government and legal studies, which is a long, fancy term for international relations. Ignore the like. This is just a common thing that people like to throw in a sentence. So basically, she's saying government and legal studies is a long, fancy term, meaning a long, very difficult word or difficult term for international relations. International relations itself is the relations between nations. So that is what she studied. And then she says, I absolutely fell in love with the subject after my first class of this. So this is a course that she took, but she fell in love with it. She enjoyed it so much. And the professor really just fostered my creativity, my critical thinking. So she's talking about a certain class, Intro to Government, that influenced her, and also a professor that influenced her as well. Now, foster here means to encourage, to help develop, okay? So the professor really helped her develop her interest or her creativity and her critical thinking. Now, critical thinking itself means a very clear understanding of something, okay? It's often learned from evidence. So clear understanding is critical thinking, okay? Now, right then and there, at that moment, right then and there, it's used as a long word, as a term. Right then and there means right then, at that moment. I knew that was what I wanted to study. She said, I knew that that was what I wanted to study. That meaning the major, okay? It can be omitted. So Peter says, so are you going to become a government official someday? Okay. Now, what did she say? I'm hopefully thinking about some kind of development work. And then she gives an example. Maybe a big humanitarian organization. I do recall, Rachel did talk about, wanting to be involved in a humanitarian organization long time ago. So I guess she basically wants to help others, do better their welfare and their happiness, right? She wants to take care of people that are in need of help. And then she says, I'm really excited about the future. Well, best of luck to you, Rachel. So far today in actual talk, we talked about what these two were interested in, what majors they studied, how they changed their mind, and who influenced them, okay? So think about what you can talk about when this topic is thrown at you. Have a listen one more time with the subtitles.
Peter, in Korea, a lot of the students choose their major first before they go into college, but I know that in the States, we choose our major once we're in college, and we do it on the way, we make different decisions, we change it. Was that the same for you, or did you know from the start what you wanted to study?
Well, I was kind of inspired when I was young by Carl Sagan and the TV show Nova.
Right,
and so I always wanted to be a bit of a mad scientist, or in this case, I wanted to study astrophysics, the Big Bang, the origin of the universe, and things like that. But as I started into it, I started changing, and I'm pretty much too interested in too many different things, and a bit ADD, so I can't focus on only one thing. So I started taking other classes, and in the end, I finished my degree in English literature, early European history, and dance.
Oh, wow. It's very versatile. You seem like you're a jack of all trades.
Yeah, a bit of a Renaissance man, if you will.
Yeah. Did you have a particular professor that influenced you to make this decision in the end?
Well, actually, one of my high school teachers kind of influenced me so much so that I became a writer.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of filtered its way into a major part of my life from a minor part.
Right, okay.
In college, you're kind of growing and learning who you are.
Exactly.
What about you?
For me, I studied government and legal studies, which is a long fancy term for international relations. Yeah, but I absolutely fell in love with the subject after my first class of government and legal studies. It was intro to government, basically. And the professor really just fostered my creativity, my critical thinking, and I fell in love with the subject right then and there, and I knew that was what I wanted to study. Yeah.
So are you going to become a government official someday?
Hopefully. I'm hopefully thinking about some kind of development work, so maybe a big humanitarian organization even. I'm really excited about the future. I definitely am. But
hopefully that'll work out soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's now time for us to check out some actual talk expressions. Now, of course, we did talk about majors, what Peter and Rachel majored in college, but we talked more about or focused more on what? Who they were influenced by and how they changed their mind. We also talked about what they were interested in, so I have broken up our categories into two. First of all, we'll talk about your interests in college, what interested you in college, and then also we'll talk about the person, who influenced you or who inspired you, okay? So let's begin with your interests in college. You can always talk about what really attracted you, what you were drawn to, what you were curious about and interested in. So say, for example, you can say science or something has always been my strong suit. If you say that something is your strong suit, it means that you do that very well. It's something you do very well, okay? Something you're very good at. So what does the sentence mean? It means that science is something I am good at. Science has always been my strong suit. I've always been good at science, okay? Another one, my heart was leaning towards medicine. Yeah, this one's a good one. Take a look at this. My heart, okay, was leaning towards. Leaning towards is what? You're directed in a certain, that's right, direction. So your heart was leaning towards something, meaning your heart was attracted to it, and that would mean you always had a heart for. You always had an interest for. You always loved something, right? So my heart was leaning towards medicine. So in this case, you can say medicine was something I've always been interested in. Was my favorite. Moving on to, religion became my forte among all my studies, so I decided to major in it. So for example, let's take a look at the first sentence. Make use of the word forte, okay? It's F-O-R-T-E, but it's pronounced forte. The stress goes on the second syllable, okay? It's not fort, it's forte. Forte. It means that it is what you are really good at, okay? So in this case, religion became my forte. What does that mean? I became really good in religion. You can say English. Speaking English is my forte. Bicycling is my forte. It all means that you are really very good at it, okay? You're really good at it. Now, religion became my forte among all my studies, so I decided to major in it. I was best at religion, so I chose to major in religion. Got it? Okay, let's move on. I was pretty much dazed and confused during my first year of college. Of course, this is not exactly about your interest, but we're talking about the situation. The time you were in college, you were dazed. What does that mean? Dazed means that you don't understand something clearly, so you may be confused. So these two words actually can mean pretty much the same thing. You're confused, you're not sure about something, but if you're dazed, you do not have a clear understanding of something. So let's take a look at the sentence again. I was a bit dazed and confused during my first year of college, meaning you didn't know what you were interested in. Got it? Okay. Moving on, it seemed like I was hardwired to enter the field of linguistics. Let's take a look at this. Hardwired. I was hardwired. Now, imagine that there is a wire, okay? And you're wired to it, meaning you are connected to that wire. You're hardwired to something. You're stuck with it. If you're hardwired to something, it means that you have a natural talent. You have a natural ability in something or natural knowledge in something. You don't necessarily say that you are hardwired if you learned something from experience. So if it's in you, you're born with something, you are hardwired to something, okay? You did not learn about it. You just know about it. You're hardwired to so-and-so. Okay, now the area of computers has always been my domain. You can also say forte. Now, domain means what? It means an area of activity, right? But even better, think of it as a territory, okay? So if you say, this is my territory, it means what? You know about the territory very well. So if you know a lot about something, if you like it a lot, you can say something is your domain, okay? For example, computers is my domain. It means you know everything about computers. Got it? Okay. Moving on. I was always a firm believer of philanthropy. It can be anything. I was always a firm believer of something. It means that you really had a strong belief in it. You were sure about it, okay? All right, let's move on to who you were inspired or influenced by, okay? I decided to pursue. It means what? Continue, follow a career in engineering after attending Professor Lee's lecture. So this is one way of saying that you were inspired by Professor Lee, okay? Moving on to another one. Looking back. You're looking back into the past, okay? I think Professor Kim was instrumental in helping me to clamp down on my decision to major in biology. It's a long sentence, but let's take a look at instrumental and also clamp down on. Now, first we say, I think Professor Kim was instrumental in doing something. If you say that somebody is instrumental in doing something, it means that that person was very helpful. Think of an orchestra. What do you need? You need musical instruments. Without the instruments, well, you would not be able to play music, right? So, instrumental or to be instrumental means to help. So, Professor Kim helped me a lot, okay, to clamp down on my decision to major in biology. Clamp down on something means to settle, to fix. So, in this case, decide on my major. Let's move on to another one. My history professor had the greatest bearing on my decision. Now, bearing itself means, perhaps, let's see. It's an understanding of which way you're going, okay? Where you are, which way you're directed, or which way you're moving. So think of it as an understanding, okay? My history professor had the greatest bearing on my decision, meaning he had a great understanding. In other words, he helped me to decide on my major choice, or whatever it is. Okay, now let's move on to our final one. I am forever indebted to my uncle who inspired me to believe in myself. Forever means what? 영원히, until the very end, okay? Forever indebted. It basically is to be grateful to someone. You are indebted to someone. You are grateful to someone. Forever. It's just an exaggeration of saying I am greatly grateful to him, okay? I am forever indebted to my uncle who inspired me to believe in myself, to believe that I can do it, to trust myself, okay? While we're at it, indebted is I-N-D-E-B-T-E-D, but the pronunciation is indebted. The B here is silent, so keep that in mind. It is not indebted, it's indebted. So these are actual talk expressions for today's lesson. Some of them could be quite difficult for you to remember, but practice along, and I'm sure you can make these expressions yours in the near future. All right, everyone, job well done. Now today we talked about what we majored in school and what we were interested in. Perhaps you can touch upon goals as well. So I have chosen an idiom with goal in it. Check it out. It is fall short of one's goal or goals. What could this mean? Here is a sample sentence with the idiom. I fell short of my goal of saving 30 million won last year. I fell short of my goal of saving 30 million won last year. Does it sound positive or negative? It means that you were not able to save 30 million won last year. So basically, fall short of one's goal. It means to fail to achieve a goal. 목표에 못 미치다라는 말이야. Okay? So you set a goal, but if you could not achieve that goal, you can say, well, I fell short of my goal. Here is another sample sentence. If I happen to fall short of my goals, then I pride myself in knowing that I tried my best. I love this one. I was searching through the net actually, and I found an article about achieving one's goals. And one person said something very similar to this. You know, this person said, I have many, many goals, but it's okay even if I don't achieve them, because even if I fall short of my goal, I will at least know that I tried my best to achieve it. So if you have a goal, everyone, give it your best and keep today's idiom in mind as well.
Talk about your college experience. How or why did you choose your major? Who inspired you or influenced you to decide on your career choices? Describe in detail as to how you decided on your major or career.
I'm a senior in university, and I'm majoring in English language and literature and double majoring in business. When I was in high school, I was planning to go to a medical school in the States, but I decided to change my plan because after talking with my parents, we thought that going to a Korean university would be better for my future career. However, I didn't decide to go to a medical school in Korea because the curriculum was very different, and I had to study, for example, biology all over again in Korean. So at my state, I thought going to English literature major would be my best choice. And after that, I decided to double major in business because I thought having a career in finance can fit me well. So after that, I also did an internship in a bank, which was pretty suitable with what I majored in. And I don't regret not going to the medical school and studying English literature and business because it's interesting and I'm still having fun and preparing for my future career.
Well, once again, thank you to Lee Seong-Yoon for a wonderful interview. She's helping us out a lot. Thank you so much for your time once again. Now, she told us about what? She said that she wanted to study medicine, but then again, she talked with her father, and her father influenced her a lot when it came to choosing her major. Well, she changed her mind, and she decided to study in Korea. Let's check out what she said. She said, I decided to change my plan. Remember, she was talking about studying medicine, but she changed her plan because after talking with my parents, we thought that going to a Korean university would be better for my future career. So, once again, we can tell that she had a certain goal, but she changed her mind, okay? She had a change of thought, or she changed her plan because of her parents. Okay, let's move on to what else she said. I didn't decide to go to a medical school in Korea. Not in Korea. Why? Because the curriculum was very different. Curriculum basically is a program of courses of studies. She said it was very, very different, and I had to study biology all over again. Yeah, I probably would have changed my mind as well. So, she did not choose to study medicine in Korea because if she did, she probably had to study biology all over again. Let's check out some oopsies quickly. So at my state, I thought going to an English literature major would be my best choice. Oh, we're missing a period there, okay? So at my state, I thought of going to a major. Kind of sounds awkward, right? Let's check it out. So in my state, when you're talking about a certain situation you are in, right? You are in that situation, you are in that state, so you would say, so in my state, not at my state, I thought choosing an English literature major would be my best choice, got it? Oh, one more. So after that, I also did an internship. Wonderful. You do an internship in a bank, which was pretty suitable with what I majored in. All right, let's take a look. So after that, I also did an internship in a bank, which was pretty suitable for what I majored in. Basically, she was talking about business, what she majored in afterwards. So you would say suitable for something. Suitable for business or suitable for what I majored in. So keep these mistakes and corrections in mind and make sure not to make the same mistakes in the future. That's a wrap. Well, everyone, time is up, and I sure hope that you had a great time with me with today's lesson. I hope you learned a lot of expressions. I do admit that some of them could be difficult, but don't worry. Don't try to pressure yourself into remembering or memorizing each and every single one of them. Take it easy, okay? Take it little by little. Take baby steps. There's no worries, okay? Now, earlier today, I was talking to someone that actually told me that he had taken an interview, or he did an interview in English, and he froze, and his mind, his head went blank because he was given or asked a very simple question, but he was afraid of telling the truth, telling his story. I don't know why, but the thing was, he was trying to think of a different story, make up a story, and tell that story. But in the end, he was not able to complete a wonderful story. So my advice to you is, sometimes it's good to be creative, especially when you don't have any experience about a certain topic. But if you do, don't think about, should I tell this person about my experience? Would it be wrong? Don't think too hard. Just talk about your own experiences freely and naturally. That's the best, I think, idea when it comes to doing an English interview. Okay, well, that is a wrap, everyone. I'll be joining you back next time, and we'll also talk about something related to schools. We'll talk about university or college life, school life. Talk about activities and clubs you may have been a member of. Okay, until then, take care, and you can check out our webpage at www.edse.co.kr. Look forward to any point actual speaking. Okay, bye, everyone.